everyone. As Cosette said, my name is Kim, and I am an e-learning specialist with the Learning Engagement Office at the Faculty of Extension. So our unit is primarily responsible for supporting online learning within the faculty. And so to that end, most of our work ends up being building and supporting e-classes. So to help us do that, especially because we have about 150 courses per term or so to create and keep tabs on, especially when the pandemic hit and everything was going online, it was really helpful to have an online course template already set up. So we set this up so that when we're creating a course, we can just pull items that we need to set up the course. So all of our courses have a standardized look and feel to help both instructors and students access information and teach and learn more effectively. So today, what I want to do is take you on a brief tour of the template that we've created. I'm going to show you what it's like to import pieces from a template if you've never done so. I'm going to show you how to change a course format based on your needs, which is also very important and could be often overlooked. We're also going to talk about adding headings to organize your work. So it's a very important takeaway. That's something you can do right away to start helping organize your course. And finally, I'm actually going to show you where to go to start making your own course template just for yourself, to share with some colleagues, or even create it for the faculty level. So first up, right here is our course template. So as you can see at a glance, there's a lot of stuff in it. So I'm just going to give you a quick and dirty look at most of the items. So a lot of pieces here we built using HTML for, custom visuals to make things look a little spicier. The very first thing that we put in here is your instructor block. So this is where students are going to see who their instructor is and how to contact them. We've also included a Zoom tool. So no matter how many Zoom tools you add to an e-class, it all ends up in the same place. So you only really need one. So we include that also at the top of the course to make it accessible for students when they're trying to access their classes. We also have a placeholder file here for the syllabus. So either we or an instructor can just go in and swap the file and they're ready to go. And we include 3 forms here. So if you have instructed using eClass before, you'll be familiar with the announcements form. We keep that up at the top, and whenever you post something, that email notification will go out to students, and they'll be able to access a copy of it here. So we like to keep it at the forefront. And we also include 2 forums in every course at Extension, including course questions and answers, as well as a coffee room. Even if students don't use it, we find that giving them the opportunity to post in these forums make them feel a little bit more supported and connected, especially when learning online and they don't see people face to face. Another piece that we've created is the Start Here tab. So as the name suggests, this is where we want students to come very first thing when they log into their e-class for the first time. This is going to be where they can check to see what group they're in, if the course utilizes groups for discussions, for example, and then post an introduction to the other students and to you. We also have some administrative pieces that we've included in here, including who to ask for help, what other places can you go to seek the information you're looking for. We've got academic integrity referenced, how to use your Alberta email, and the Center for Writers, and so on and so forth. You may notice that this is kind of looking a little flashy, which again, we used custom HTML and CSS to build this. So for example, if your students were on a tablet or a mobile screen, these boxes would respond to that screen size and just alter their appearance to look a little neater. So this is pretty advanced, but we find adding these elements, especially because we know how to, kind of breaks up the monotony of just looking at a wall of text or a list of items. So students are a little bit more engaged with the information and they remember it more. Next, I'm going to take you to the Graded Activities and Assessments tab. So again, another really quick tour. In all of our courses, any assessments they might have, we pull them all into one place instead of spreading them out amongst the modules. So for most courses, we will include these practice tools. So if they just have assignments, we'll just include the practice assignment tool. And if they have all 3, we'll have all 3. This is a place for students to get used to how the tools work before dealing with the real thing, especially if they're not quite too tech savvy and they're nervous about it. This is a safe place where they can get used to things before going in for the real deal. We also include some discussion forum and assignment tool templates for all of the courses. So if you have been using forums in your courses, you may be familiar with the fact that you are now able to grade using discussion forums. We had this set up with assignment tools before that capability was available. And we decided to keep it this way because we found that if you're using simple direct grading in forums, meaning you would just enter in a numerical number into a field, you're not able to actually add comments when grading in the forum. So we wanted to keep the options robust for instructors for providing that feedback. So we include the assignment tool so that instructors can add that grade and any comments that they might want to include while grading their students' forum posts. And of course, for other assignment tools, we've got little templates here for ease of access for our purposes. We can just add in any questions or answers in a quiz tool using our template. And for example, here we have an assignment template in which we've actually made visuals and instructions on how to use the tool. So we've just got a lot of little pieces here. Again, depending on the course's needs, we can pick and pull whatever they need from here. We also have a pre-class and a course content tab. So some of our courses are blended and they require students do some activities before they actually meet virtually. So if that's the case, we can pull up this pre-class tab. And some of our courses are very short. They're only about a day or two long. So in those cases, we usually use a course content tab, and that's everywhere. That's where the instructor can add all of the course content that would be handed out during the duration of the course. But for some of our other robust courses that actually have separate modules, we have all of these module tabs, which are pretty much just duplicates of one another. So I'll just show you one module tab to give you an idea of how we structure it. So what we've done is we start the module off with the number and the title. We pull all of this from the syllabus just to give an introduction to students to remind them what they're learning this time. On the same vein, we also include the learning outcomes from the syllabus. And this is just pedagogical practice. It's really good to remind students what the goals for learning are at the beginning of a course, the beginning of a module, and at the beginning of a lesson. So we like to include those here just to give students the reminder before they dive into the course content. We've also got those placeholders here again for any module course notes the course might have or any lecture slides that the instructor wants to include, followed by placeholders for adding readings in with their APA resource reference included. So at Extension, we use APA exclusively, and especially because we expect students to cite sources properly, we want to model the same behavior and cite them properly where possible too. So when we include the readings and courses, we always make sure that the reference is there and it's done correctly. And there are some other pieces down here too that are non-graded activities that we might include for the odd course that has them. Lastly, I'm going to show you the blocks on the right side of the page you may have noticed while I was going through here. So we've included a block in every course that shows the contact information for the program office. It includes a link to our resource website for instructors and students that kind of has how-tos and tutorials on doing certain things within eClass. There's a link to Bear Tracks because students often need to go there to handle their student administrative things. And we also include our email for any eClass help. So usually students see that and they know if they have any questions, they can come to us. We also include the calendar block, which many of you would probably be familiar with. And this is where any items that have a due date attached to them, they'll appear there and give students a visual cue that an assessment is coming up. We've also built this forums pod using a custom HTML. And that's especially useful for courses that use discussion forums quite heavily, especially when you've got over 100 posts coming in and a student wants to find a certain topic that they remember reading about, or you want to search up a specific student that you know posted about something you want to reread again. This tool has come in handy. And you may also be familiar with the course management block and the demo student view block. And these are accessible to every course when you try to add a block to your side menu here. The demo student is very helpful if you want to test out things in your course and see what a student would see and experience. And the course management block tells you when a course is available to students. Now I'm actually going to show you what it's like to import some items if you've never done this. So I'm going to take us to my sandbox page. And I've set this up to be just like a blank course. So when you request a course from blank, this is what you're going to see. So to start importing into this course, I'm going to go to the gear in the top right corner, and I'm going to select import from this list. Now, depending on how many courses you have access to, this list is truncated at 10. I'm part of a lot of courses, so I get to search for the course I'm looking for. And I know that my template is called the online course template. So I'm going to search that name and then select it from the list. Then I'll click continue. So in this next page, it asks for your initial settings and what you actually want to import. So for most cases, it's fairly safe to keep all of these checked. But as you go along, if you know for a fact that you don't care about including the question bank of the course that you're trying to import, you can uncheck it. I'm going to keep these all selected and go next. And this is where I get to choose all of the individual items that I want to import. So this course, as we've discovered, is quite huge. And I don't need all of this. And also importing this could take several minutes at a time. You get to pick and choose what you want to take based on check marks of individual items or whole sections. So, for example, if I know I don't need anything from Module 3, I can just deselect it and it won't take anything from there. At the top of this list, I can also just select all or select none, and that'll deselect everything. So I'm just going to import a few items here, simply for the interest of time, because I don't want all of us sitting here looking at a loading screen for 5 minutes. I'm just going to take items as if this was a 2-day course. So I'm going to add a graded activities and assessment section with nothing in it for now, and a course content section with nothing in it for now. Then I can go down to the very end of the page. I'll click next. eClass is going to say, are you sure these are the items that you want to import? And you can go over all the green check marks and see what you asked for. Then you can confirm, yeah, that's what I wanted. So you may get some warnings as you import, letting you know, hey, these things didn't work out. This warning is just letting me know that I had a specific role set up in the online course template that didn't work here, and that's totally fine for now. I can go and fix that later if I need to. So I'll click continue. Now all the items that I wanted have been imported into my course. Now, this course by default was in a topics format, which is pretty useful if you have a very small course and not a whole lot of content. However, for courses that are a little longer and a little bit more robust, you can imagine that scrolling through 13 modules on this page would make for a huge job of just trying to find one single item. So that's where changing a course format comes in handy. So to do this, I'm again going to go to that gear icon, and I'm going to select Edit Settings. All you need to do is scroll down a little bit to find the next heading, which would be the course format. So I want to change this format from topics to one topic. So there's a number here that you can try out to see what fits your needs best. But at the Faculty of Extension, we find one topic to be favorable just for how it looks and its ease of navigation. This is going to turn your course into a kind of a file folder system. So all of the individual sections are now tabs that you can click on and navigate through. Before I click Save, I want to change the visualization mode of section 0 to before the tabs. So what this means is that one section where we saw who the instructor is and the syllabus and those forums, that's going to show up first before all of the other sections every time. We just find that it looks a little cleaner, and having access to those items is very important. So we want them visible most of the time. So now I've changed the layout of my course. And you'll notice too, I've got all of these empty topics. And that's simply because when I was importing things, it didn't really line up with any of these topics. So I can just delete them if I don't need them. So I'm going to go to course content. It's empty for now, besides this little sticker telling me how to use it. I want to start adding content to it, but I want to make sure that it's organized and easy to access. And to do that, I'm going to use a label to create headings specifically. So this is a very important tool that all of you can go away with using right now that will really help your students find information. I'm going to click Turn Editing On. And once I do that, at the bottom of any topic, I'll now find this Add an Activity or Resource button. So clicking that brings up this pop-up menu that is divided between activities and resources. My label is just a resource because it's not interactable. So I'm going to select this. And I'm going to create a heading for readings. So I want to point out the main difference between just making your text large and bolded and actually using a paragraph style to select a heading is that if your students are using a screen reader, the screen reader will not be able to differentiate the difference between large text and small text, but it will pick up on the fact that you used a heading. So this capital A here is paragraph styles. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to select medium heading. And the reason we're choosing medium instead of large is that each of those tabs is seen as a large heading according to the internet source code. So it's best practice to nest your next heading as a medium one. So this will just be readings. So again, to reiterate, it's important to use heading instead of just a large font because the screen reader, if your student is using this, will be able to jump from heading to heading, and a student can say, oh, I know I don't need to go into readings. I want to go into optional activities or something. It just makes it way easier for someone to navigate when they need those accessibility options. And finally, I actually want to show you how to get started on making your own template for yourself or to share with some colleagues. It's very simple. Some of you may have done this before. I'm going to go to the main U of A website, and up at the top here, no matter where you are on the page, you'll find these navigation options. And I'm going to click on the E-Class one, which will bring me to this landing page. So instead of clicking on the green courses button, which will take me to my dashboard, on the left here, I'll see the Request Your Course in E-Class link. So this will bring me to the E-Class course creation section. And if I click on Request a Course, I get to choose what kind of course I want to make. I want to make a non-credit course section for my template. This means that whatever section you create is not going to be tied to anything in Bear Tracks. So it's going to be your section to put content in. It's not going to allow students in to see content, for example. Once you've created this section, you can then add other instructors or admin staff that you need to collaborate and start building on that template so that multiple courses or instructors can use the same information. And that is all I had planned for today's presentation.